Okay. What changed about anime, like, since the 90s to make it so weird? Because and for those of you at home who don't have a lot of perspective on this, like anime, like anime in the 90s and prior to it, it was a lot of action.
Pretty
and
gritty.
it could be gritty, but it could also be silly, and there were just like interesting plot points and relatable characters and stuff like that. And then somewhere along the way, everything got really clean, like, and visually. Everything got really clean, but also really cheap. Like, it feels like the frame rate dropped. Of course, you watch something from the 70s, that frame rate's going to be low. But the frame rate dropped, the images got really, really clean, and everything got really cutesy and less relatable. What happened?
Do you think it? Just a theory
Okay.
before James throws it in there. I imagine what you're talking about is probably the move to a lot of computer generated animation.
That's part of it,
Yeah.
but not wholly so.
Okay.
So I'm gonna throw out a couple theories because you're right. It has been a very big shift, especially in I would say a good kind of point of reference for this shift would probably be like the 2010s. Once 2010s began, that's when things started kind of getting different. But I think there was a change in between the 90s and 2010s, but I think the biggest change, and this is what I'm going to reference, is going to be around the 2010s when that happened. But one theory that I have is that, and this may have always been the case, I don't know, but funding is very atrocious now for anime. They animators are working for pennies. They're doing it purely out of love for the art. They're not really doing it because it makes them rich. Now, that being said, they because they have such low funding, they have to work with what they're given, and therefore you get the lowest common denominator stuff. That's not to say that the whole industry is doomed, because you have studios like Kyoto Animation who are their workers are salaried; they're not based on freelance. So there is a movement, even if it's a small movement, to kind of focus on the quality rather than quantity. And that segues to another theory of mine, is that because of the funding and because they have to make some kind of profit, there are so many new shows out every season, like probably anywhere from 30 to 50 new anime shows every season. So that's times 4. That's like 200 or 300 shows a year that somehow have to fight for your attention. It's like on YouTube, but the only difference is they're making money with anime, and we're not.
Right.
so it's like it's with because of the fact that they have so many new shows, there's less of a focus on making. Whereas in the 90s, you had a lot, but you didn't have a lot. And you had shows like Dragon Ball Z that could go on for 200, 300 episodes and without going on a break. Now you have shows that are like, hey, let's give them the beginning and hope that they sell enough to make the next part.
Is there a lot of pressure on each individual project to be the next DBZ or One Piece?
I think in certain circles, yes, like Black Clover, anything by Studio Pierrot. I think Naruto tried to emulate it, and they kind of succeeded because they managed to get 500 episodes.
Yeah, I would say so.
That was one of the success stories, and you have stuff like, Black Clover is fighting for it. They're in their 80s. I think the 80s episodes now, or they're like the 85 episodes in. And so they're trying to kind of go for that, but it's very rare when you see a show that just goes on indefinitely, like Dragon Ball or Naruto did, and you'll find that it's mostly stuff by Toei Animation. It's mostly stuff by Toei Animation, by Pierrot, Pierrot Plus, all that. You have certain studios that are like, okay, we have the money to just fund this because we know that people are going to eat it up. But then you have studios like, I don't know, just an offhand example. You've got studios like Shaft, okay, like that can't. I mean, like they put so much effort into making things clean, and they have their style to uphold that they can't always make their shows last indefinitely like that. But yeah.
Okay. And there was one more thing I wanted to touch on, and like definitely a glut stuff like that, and low funding makes a lot of sense, especially when I don't know. I've always been really. I'm someone who's capable of like seeing the frames. I can practically count them in real time,
Right.
and so it bugs me. But the other thing is that animes right now are super duper tropey.
Yeah.
Like it's like there's basically like 3 kinds of protagonists, and then like 5 kinds of fight scenes that they can have. It's
Right.
You have like the fish out of water overpowered guy who doesn't even know his own strength, and then you've got like disinterested loner who's like, I have to kill him because killing has to be done. And then there's like more of a and then there's kind of a snarky like scoundrel, you know.
Yeah.
And that's basically what you get. And then like it's they're way overpowered. They way overpower everybody else. It's a silly fight where they don't actually want to hurt the other person. It's a gang of people that they sneak up on. It's a gang of people that they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
And honestly, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that these studios are looking at it like we have to make money somehow, and we know that shows like Dragon Ball or and things like that are popular and they will sell. So let's make something that's very similar, tropey. Like I keep mentioning Dragon Ball, but there are plenty of shows that have been overwhelmingly popular in the last couple of years. And there's a lot of times, just like with Hollywood, there's a lot of times where they try to emulate what's popular, and they try to they're like, that succeeded. So if we do something similar, then surely that's going to succeed too.
Yeah, it happens
like,
in
for
video
example-
games right now a lot, just because
Yeah.
everything's a third-person shooter sandbox with RPG elements because it works so
Exactly.
much.
Yeah,
Or
like,
so
if
well.
it's not broke, don't fix it. But then in the case of anime, sometimes you need to fix it,
Yeah.
even if it isn't broke. But like for example, like Attack on Titan came out in 2013, and then like right after that, within like 2 or 3 years, they had Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress, which was it looked.
Oh, lost it. Now I'm gonna, since I have a moment, no idea what he's talking about.
Okay, we're back.
The habanero spicy fortress.
Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress. I haven't watched it, but based on like the previews of it, it looks like they really took that note from Attack on Titan and the directing style and the action, and so it's one of those things where like if they look at it like, well, Attack on Titan revolutionized the world, let's make something very similar and see how it does.
Well, you see,
And clearly, the fact that y'all have heard of Attack on Titan, but you haven't heard of Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress, proves that one of them was successful and one of them wasn't.
Right.
I watched Attack on Titan on a whim, and I didn't even know if it was going to be. I didn't know if it was going to be something for me. And it was actually the storytelling. When people talk about Attack on Titan, they usually talk about, it's like a kaiju anime, or it's really really gory. And I think the interesting thing about it is definitely that it's one of those stories, and I haven't seen season 2 or 3, so I don't know how much disambiguation has happened.
Right.
But Attack on Titan, at least in season 1, was one of those stories that leaves you with a whole lot of questions and allows you to develop theories, and I absolutely love those. And you might laugh me out of the room on this one because I haven't seen 3, and maybe they answer it. But like my theory right now is that because the world that they understand and can easily observe is so small, I think that they're living in modern day Earth and the rest of the world is just fine. Like, we put all the Titans on one island and some people got stuck there and they developed this weirdo culture around it.
So the real world. We put all these people on one island. Let's see what shenanigans happen.
The whole thing's a reality show, actually.
That would
like the Earth South Park episode where they make Earth into a reality show.
Yeah. That would not be satisfying. That would not be satisfying. But the idea that all the Titans are on one island and the rest of the world is just fine because the Titans can't get across, I would be fine with that.
Yeah.